Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome council, staff, and residents. It is 1:01, and I call this special committee of the whole meeting for November 29th, 2023 to order. And looking around the horseshoe here, we do in fact have quorum. Who's supposed to read the land recognition?
Your pick today, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I can do that. So we begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe peoples, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and acknowledging reminds us that our great standard of living is directly related to the resources and friendship of Indigenous people. So, Council, the agenda has been circulated. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, could I have a show of hands to adopt the meeting or the agenda? Did we need a mover on that?
We could.
Okay, so putting the cart before the horse, could I have someone move? Wayne, Bob, seconder, thank you. Okay, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof to declare? Seeing none, we're moving forward. And that brings us to 5.1, our presentations. May I suggest that as we go through the presentation, instead of waiting until the very end and asking questions, that in certain areas that we stop and Council will have the opportunity to ask questions on that particular item. So, okay, so who's... Usama, sharp-dressed man.
Hey, good afternoon, Council. I'm happy to be here to present the 2024 capital budget. I'll be doing part of the presentation. Usama Siraj, our Deputy Treasurer, will be doing part of it as well, and a big part of it will be from our Director of Public Works. The agenda, we're going to cover the budget open house, capital requests, the actual budget process, how we got here, the 2024 capital summary and grant summary, and then we're going to go through the various departments and their budgets, talk about debentures and debt, and reserve funds. Oops, am I going the wrong way? Okay. So we had a budget open house on September 20th, 2023. This is something that we do every year where we enable the public to come here and let us know and talk to council about some of the needs that they see are in the community. And we had 7 delegates this year. What I want to say, what I really like about this process is that, you know, we hear from the public, and especially when we're looking for grant applications, we know that, oh, wait a minute, you know, somebody is interested in that. And that's how we got a lot of the grants. For example, when the pickleball folks came and they wanted the pickleball courts, the tennis courts, the splash pads, those all came from the open house. So we're really pleased when people do come forward and let us know what the needs are in the community. And then we keep our ear to the ground to see how we can actually fund that. Okay, let's see here. Oops. So what we had this year, we had a request. The first request was from Laura Nelson, and that is for the town to do an $18,000 donation match to a fundraiser of about $50,000 was their goal, and that's to improve the the skate park, some improvements, some concrete there. And so right now, that is still to be considered by council. The second one was pickleball. There was some improvements that they wanted to install a concrete pad with shade and a paved parking lot, permanent washrooms, and other improvements there, and also improvement to the MCC windows for pickleball courts to have better visibility. So what we have in the 2024 budget, we have parking lot paving in 2024, and we also have the window film is in the facilities budget. Pelham Cares, they requested stronger municipal transportation services in a partnership with the town to assist with grant writing services and general financial support. So in the operating budget, we have the grant writer position to go from part-time to full-time, and part of the role of the grant writer for the town is to help the various service clubs and other members of the community with some of their grants, and Pelham Cares definitely would qualify as a community member that we would definitely help. With the transportation services, the Director of Recreation and Culture and Wellness and I met with our funder for our community transportation grant. That's the grant that we receive approximately $100,000 a year. And we're one of the very few communities that receive that grant, and there's 2 years left of that grant. And they have allowed us to continue to use $100,000 for next year and the following year. And we did talk about additional shuttle services that we do need in the town to help with the programming at the RCW and also some of the special events. And we can also see if there's something there that we can help folks with Pelham Care. So that's something that we'll take back with us and see how we could use some of those funds to help provide better, to enhance the services. And the purpose of this is while, the region is transitioning into the whole regional transit in the next few years, this helps us with that transition while the region sorts out how that's going to work for the community. Pelham Minor Baseball Association, they would like to convert the stone to clay for several diamonds, tarps for the mounds, batter boxes, access to the diamonds, and all other things that they need there. So what we have in the 2024 budget is the clay sand improvements are in the budget, and that is red circled for a grant. Last year, if you recall, they were asking for a batting cage, and we were able to get $100,000 for that batting cage. So this is, once again, as I mentioned, we love to hear what people need because then we know we can go out and see those funds. The last two is Larry Dolan. He addressed climate change, and the request is that the town is in partnership with Hydro One and MPI to implement a proactive strategy to protect the electrical grid by burying the overhead wire network. So that right now is just consideration to be made by council. And the last one is from Barbara Rubiak. She's requesting that the tennis practice wall be reestablished at Centennial Park, and that's for consideration, but it's not in the 2024 operating budget. So I don't know if there's any questions here with regards to what the public has requested.
Councillor Olson?
Yes, through you, Chair. The thing that I think has been missed in the presentations from the public is kind of a looming one, and that's accessibility of various venues that we have. I know that the Legion has an issue with that, so when we're writing grants, if that could be considered, because there's a lot of there's a lot of kitchens that don't really meet the standards of what they are today, and people can't cook in these places. So that's a coming thing. The accessibility grant, I don't think we're going to see very much of a change in the way that transit operates until next year. Not next year, but the year after, because we're renegotiating transit is renegotiating the contract with the on-demand people, and we're limited by the contracts that existed at amalgamation of the transit system. So that won't happen until not 2024, but 2025, I think.
Okay. one of the things that the town wants to do, and part of it is, getting that grant person there full-time, is to have a session with the service groups and for us to talk about, what we can do to help them out, but also to hear about their needs. So this is where we would hear about the Legion, and we are aware that they do need the accessibility, and we've helped them with the grants in the past. So that's where it's nice for us to have that list, and then we can reach out and say, hey, I think this is a good fit for you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions with respect to these budget requests? Okay, so I've got a few.
Okay.
So firstly, Laura Nelson, with the fundraiser that she's doing and wants some improvements to the skate park. At this point in time, there's just shy of $25,000 worth of donations towards their goal of $50,000. Have staff determined what the requested improvements to the skate park would actually cost at this point? Because it doesn't sound like it's $50,000 worth of improvements.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So have we nailed down exact, precise numbers? No. We have contacted the company that did the work for us. They're actually out of BC, the company that designed and built the skate park, and they specialize in that type of work. The improvements that were identified, I think most likely could be done under our general concrete repair replacement program for what needs to be done there. So if council wishes to move ahead with that project, we can prepare some more detailed numbers, but my guess is that work would be somewhere less than the $50,000.
Thank you for that. So I definitely would like to see this move forward. Not sure if we need to kick in $18,000 if they've got $25,000 available at this point in time. So how would we handle that in the capital budget?
So the Director of Public Works, are you saying that it's the part of the concrete budget can absorb that 20,000 or that the 50,000?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, no. I would like to keep that full budget allotment for the concrete program intended for replacement of our sidewalks through town. So this would be definitely an add-on that we would require to do the work.
So can you give us a rough estimate by the time budget approval comes around on, what is it, the 20th of December?
To you, Deputy Mayor, yes. We'll
Okay,
get that
thank
done.
you. Pelham Cares also asked for some general financial support. I believe it was 3 years ago we allocated funds to Hospice Niagara for their new facilities. Mm-hmm. And has that expired now?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, no, it hasn't. It was $18,500 for 5 years. I think
5 years, not 3.
I think that we're in our third year right now.
Yeah. So that's coming out of operating, though, not capital.
That's correct.
Yeah. So I would suggest that if council wants to provide some general financial support, that we consider that in our operating budget going forward. Whatever amount. Yeah. And last one I've got on here is Pelham Minor Baseball Association, and it's not highlighted in here, but I recall that the person who presented was concerned about the safety of the fences. You've got all these wires sticking out on top of the fence, and generally drainage tile can be put on there at a relatively low cost. That I would suggest that we move forward with putting drainage tile on there to protect all the ball players from getting hurt.
Yeah, go ahead, Vicki.
Through you, Mr. Acting Mayor. Absolutely. We're working with Pelham Minor Ball. There was a variety of requests that we will be doing in-house in our current budget.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions from council? Seeing none. Thank you.
This slide here just shows the capital process, what we did. We started back in June, had initial meetings with staff, and then there was a lot of deliberation, a lot of requests back and forth until we finally came up with the capital budget. This slide here actually shows the amount of work that staff did. We started off with 75 projects totaling $21.8 million. And so we had to prioritize, what we can actually afford to do. And we didn't want to take out any debt this year. So there's no debt in the capital budget. So we're down to 62 projects, even though it sounds like a lot. Some of them are small projects. And it's 16.6 million, which is something that we can do. Of that number, 2.7 million, 6 projects are red circled. That means that we're waiting for grant approval. If we don't get the grant, then those projects don't move forward. The biggest one in there is the library for about, it's a $3 million project. I think it's like 2.3 with the grant. So, and then also what we had to do for the 10-year plan is we actually had to push projects, 23 projects of about $59 million outside of the 10-year plan, just because it wasn't sustainable. We couldn't do it. There would be a lot of debt that would have to have been taken out. And so this would just give us some time for next year. The CEO has requested that we meet in Q1 and start the budget process earlier for capital, and for us to really go through all of the requests and the 10-year plan and really get a solid plan for next year. And this will tie into the asset management plan of the non-core assets, which includes facilities. That's due by July the 1st. So all of this will come together next year, and we'll have some really solid numbers. And actually, I'm really looking forward to us starting this process earlier, just because it's going to be fresh for us, and also we don't have that pressure to come back with a budget. We actually have some time to have some really good dialogue. So I really appreciated that suggestion that we start this process earlier. The capital budget summary. So this summary here is the total request from the tax levy, which is $12.4 million, of which we've got $4.1 million that will need to be funded by grants. $5.3 million are coming from reserves. Parkland dedication is $450,000, and $2.6 million is from development charges. And with the water and wastewater rate supported budget, almost $4.2 million of projects, of which $2 million is from a grant. This is a grant that we have been approved for. It's the ICIP Green Stream Grant. So that number is solid, and 2.2 is coming from reserves. So I don't know if there are any questions on just the actual summary budget.
So turn to council. Anyone have any questions?
Okay.
Seeing none.
Okay, and this is the grant summary, and what this shows is the approved grants, which the ones that are the ongoing one are the OSIF grants, and the Canada Community Building Fund grant. So those are 2 grants from the province that is like in-year deferred maintenance support, and then we've got, so that totals $3.3 million, which also includes the ICIP Green Grant in there, and then we've got $2.7 million of grants that are pending. So those projects are all red circled in the budget. And the reason why we do this in this manner is that as soon as we do get the approval, if we're fortunate to get the approval, we can move quickly with the actual project. So it saves time for us coming back to council and saying, oh, now we got the grant money, and now can we do the project? So this is a good process this way. So capital budgets by department. So I'm going to go through the various departments, and if there are any specific questions, the directors are here to talk about it. The first one is the IT budget. This is a very basic budget that we have, and The items are listed there, and if there are any questions, I'm not going to go through each one, but if someone has a specific question, I'll be more than happy to answer. Okay. Fire. This is the fire budget. When you see red, it means that it's red circled, so we're waiting for that grant to be approved, and it won't move forward until it gets the grant. So the biggest thing here is the Squad 1 for $350,000. Okay, and Public Works, and oh, did you have a question on fire?
It's on IT, my question.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's okay, Chair. IT, we've got a $50,000 item for video surveillance upgrade at MSSP. So this is said to be replacing an existing aging camera system. So could we have an explanation of what that is, please?
Okay, yeah, Vicki.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, we have had we have cameras at the pool to indicate any vandalism, or we have a public facility that is not manned, the open pool during the summer, and it actually, in the past, although we've had issues with it lately, has worked, and we have avoided vandalism. We now have the splash pad that we've invested a lot of money into, in which this would also survey that area as well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm concerned about these types of things. There's another item in here for $100,000, and when you look at the debt and the rest of our status as far as reserves goes, we're spending a lot of money on things that people not following the rules or violating things. So I think it's becomes less important because we're not going to solve all these problems. I'd ask Ms. Sturton, though, if it mentions liability here, what is that reference to?
I'm sorry, in the capital project budget for,
Surveillance cameras on...
in terms of life, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Olson, insofar as liability issues are concerned, the physical state of the town's infrastructure, as well as activities that occur on its premises, are all potential sources of liability for the town. So in order to mitigate that risk, we need to demonstrate due diligence or that reasonable care was taken. And that would, in my view, include the need to monitor goings-on when the facility is open to the public or not, and that would include video surveillance of the kind being described.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. This is one I would like to see. The equipment we have is working right now. Can we put it off for another year?
Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Unfortunately, the equipment does not work to the degree that we need it to. And we've had that surveillance equipment, I would say, at least 10 years. It's, and I would also say that it has saved us monies in replacing or, fixing things that are damaged. It's amazing how we can use this equipment to identify an issue. We deal with the issue through the NRP, and it solves a lot of our vandalism issues just by example. And I've always said it's money well spent. The $50,000 we could easily. We've had damage in the outdoor pool where we've had to close the pool, drain the pool, and we were able, because we had the surveillance, to identify who that was, and through that we were able to. We didn't have vandalism for a long time after that, so in my experience, the cameras are it's well worth the money.
So just to throw my 2 cents in, if we don't have video surveillance, we're going to have security guards there. And the cost of security guards are going to be a lot more than $50,000 for the course of the year. Councillor Eckert?
Yeah, the purpose of these cameras are not preventative at the time because they're not live monitored. But it provides us with evidence to then pursue after. So I understand that and I agree with that. One question I have is, how long did the existing cameras last? So what is your expectation of these cameras, how long they would function for? You know, if we're looking at 50,000 and it's going to last 5 years, or if it's going to only last a year, so.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry, I do not know, I wasn't involved in the purchase.
Yeah, so I can get back to you. The IT manager right now is at another meeting, but I could find out how long the cameras do last. I mean, I don't know, Bob, do you know how long the cameras are lasting?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Well, we have cameras at some of the fire stations, and they've been up for 12 years, and they're still operating.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Councillor Olson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We've got 2 items here. We've got mobile ticketing management system, and we've got the video surveillance upgrade. That's 2 different kinds of enforcement I'm looking at. And the other one, the mobile ticketing management, would be a more favorable thing to me. But I'm afraid that in these times, we've got to be looking at all kinds of savings because of our debt situation in the town. And I'm looking at this as we should have it, but maybe we just can't afford it this year. Maybe it's got to be put off.
So we've got one councillor saying he wants it off. What about the comments from the other councillors? Yes, Councillor Nesnick.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'll respectfully disagree with Councillor Olson. I think that $50,000 spent on some surveillance to oversee, you know, $1 million facility is a pretty reasonable expectation. We just installed that splash pad. We have the pool. You also have, I'm not sure if it would extend out to the skate park. Probably doesn't extend out to the skate park. So just would it be the splash pad and the pool area that would be surveilled?
So it would be the splash pad, the pool area, and the front entrance to the building. To a certain extent, it does go out to the skate park, but it does not cover the actual skate park.
Okay, so as you say, after hours, we do have still quite a few people using that area, if just for park or for the skate park. And, you know, we want to deter vandalism. We have that beautiful mural of Marlene Stewart Street down there, and certainly don't want that ruined. So I would be in favor of just keeping this and moving forward with that purchase.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kerr.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. And this is more of a generalist question. I mean, this is a video surveillance upgrade for one particular facility on the town. It would expect that over the years, there's other facilities in the town that are also going to likely need some upgrades, because as the value goes up, generally, the cost of fixing things has never gone down. It's always gone up. And if you're looking at a video surveillance system that has even a 10-year lifespan, it's a $5,000 investment. I can see part of it coming back to the lifespan. Knowing what the lifespan of things are really would help with decision making. I support Councillor Nisnik on the comments on it. It's a high value situation. It's newly installed. It's an area that's had some problems in the past. We're looking at potentially doing upgrade to the skateboard park as well. So the investment in it is increasing. So protecting it is probably a prudent thing to do. But it's just, my brain's already, I hate to say it, I'm jumping ahead thinking of, okay, what other facilities are we going to put big investments in? And we're still going to have to do the same thing. As a private citizen, I paid for a security system for my home, and I pay an annual maintenance fee for my home. And I sort of look at, this is kind of the thing of, we're going to pay upfront to get it put in place, and you just have to anticipate that it's going to, over the period of years that it survives, there's the economic impact relative. So at this point, I would see it being included, having been an old user of the pool and recognizing when the pool shut down, it's a primary source for an awful lot of people and residents in the town of where they're going to go. Losing that and then having to go back through and fix it again is never good for anybody. So I will support it staying in for this year, and those are my reasons.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Hildebrand?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate all the other councillors' comments. I agree with Councillor Olson with regards to the overall budget. Definitely, I have some things coming up where I'm going to recommend removing them from the budget because I think the budget is very serious. These two items, I agree with my fellow councillors. I would be voting to keep them in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So is that sufficient to give you direction?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for the fire budget, the fire capital budget? Okay. Now I'll pass
Councillor
it on to
Kerr,
the Director
quick
of Public
question.
Works. Oh, sorry.
I'm just seeing the electronic sign replacement for Station 2, that's red circle. So basically, that's a grant situation. If it's available, it will be undertaken, and if it's not available, it won't be.
That's correct, yes.
Because my question is, how old is the existing sign?
Bob, do you know?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the current sign was put in when they built the station, and they built the station in 11, so it's 12.
Okay.
It's over 12 years old, but it doesn't work. It's non-functional.
I know, it's one of those things, geez, it seems like it was just put in, but, thank you.
It's Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think this item has been on the budget for quite a few times now. I've seen it, how many times has this appeared on the budget before?
So I think I'll answer that question. Before, we were always looking for a new sign for Station 1. So I believe this is the first time that this is showing up
Oh, okay,
for
I may
us.
be mistaken then, but I would be in favor of replacing this and not recircling it, or red circling it like that.
Okay, Mr. Marr.
Okay. Thank you, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, Council. Thanks for allowing me to present the capital projects related to public works. I think, if I recall, this is probably the first time we've done this in person for 3 years now. So be prepared for a good exercise here. So in public works, we look after a number of different departments. We'll be going through them one by one. The facilities end of things, we look at everything from town hall, the MCC, capital improvements to that property, is right down to flagpoles and arches. So when you add everything together, there's about 30 town facilities that the department is responsible for maintaining and upkeeping. So what we've done is we've got a table that lists all of the capital projects for each department. And what I'd like to do is kind of show a snapshot on this screen. And then I've chosen some projects that I think are more of the more important ones. You may beg to differ, and we can come back to this slide after, but I'll kind of step through the presentation on the ones I wanted to highlight, and then we'll come back to this screen here and open it up, and we can ask questions on each one of these projects if that's okay to do that. So the facilities capital budget is a $4.2 million ask, a number of different projects there. I think the main one that I wanted to highlight here, well, obviously the Fawn Hill Library is the largest, okay? So that's the one that Teresa has commented on with respect to the grant. It's red circled. If we do receive a grant, then we will undertake to complete an addition renovation to that facility as part of this project. Council did approve a prior project. Last year, we have retained a consultant that will be working through the design and working with the library board as well as town staff to develop the plan. So there will be a shovel project ready. We're hoping that we get this grant, and then if that grant comes through, then this project will move forward based on that design. So Fire Station 1, I'm not sure if you've seen these. Council authorized staff to proceed with a conceptual design of the fire hall. We retained a local engineer or local architect firm. They work with town staff. Also, we were able to visit a number of different facilities throughout the region that have recently been completed and constructed. So this is probably one of the more important projects we will undertake this year if council approves it. It's an architectural design. It's actually doing the design package for tendering and construction purposes. It's a budget of $300,000. And really the conceptual design, that was an initial study to look at what the needs were, looking at the property, staging, seeing what could be done. These are two of the images that came from that conceptualized design. So the top one would be the front facing onto Highway 20, and then the bottom picture is from the rear. So if council approves this project moving forward, then we'll go through an RFP process, retain an architect to complete basically the detailed design for the new fire hall. So I'll step back to the main sheet for facilities. Sorry. So is there any questions on any of the projects that are on this sheet?
Councillor Niznik?
Yes, thank you. So through you, just a question for Mr. Marr. So there, in one place it says about replacing the fire hall. In other words, it's about renovating the fire hall. So which of those two words should we be using as we move forward?
We don't know. We don't know, which is why we are inconsistent, excuse me, in our own language choice. Fundamentally, that's a major distinction and a major decision point for council at some point in the future. I appreciate you're exactly hitting a nail on a head. But fundamentally, there will be some choices and options in how we proceed. And none of us know as yet until we get a little more information and then see what is possible. So they're very different outcomes. We know the building needs help, and we know we can't let the roof keep leaking. What the solution is will ultimately be your choice. Good news. In the interim, we usually just try to refer to it as a project and let what the end result looks like be determined likely this next calendar year, I would guess. But if not, certainly by 2025. One or the other, the decision point is coming, and it is yours.
Okay, so thank you. So is that part of that $300,000 ask in terms of the architect? That will be covered in terms of, do they go in and do a study and say, okay, this building is not habitable for the next 30 years, so and then he'll design a new one in its place? Or give us the option of, if you want to renovate, it is still renovatable, and we can design around that. Is that what part of that architectural fee will be involved in? I'm just new to building. That's why I'm asking questions, sorry.
Yeah. So when we do retain an architect, the initial study looked at the possibility of renovating. It also looked at the possibility of building new. So that still needs to be determined. And the architect that is retained will do a cost-benefit analysis for rehab or refurbishment versus replacement. And then before we move forward with finalizing the design and how we're going to proceed, that will be coming to council. for endorsement.
And then I don't know what parameters do you kind of give that architect? Like, we don't want a Taj Mahal, right? So in terms of direction towards the architect, in terms of what is hopefully able to be done for the town. So just direction, I guess, for the architect.
Yeah, so when we issue the RFP, it'll be very clear on what the expectations are from the town's perspective. It'll also indicate in there that they are to work very closely with staff and as well as the fire department to determine a needs analysis, find out what's required. And everything's going to have to fit within a costing envelope, which they'll be very mindful of. So that'll all be done through that whole process for this assignment.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Councillor Kerr?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I think the understanding, I always look at a brand-new building means everything vanishes and then you start from scratch. And to be honest, I don't think, and maybe the fire chief would say, I don't anticipate that suddenly we can just eliminate Fire Station 1 and not have anything operative. So in fact, you're in a two-stage building process. They have to function in part of it, operate a bit, get part of it renovated, and then you start part 2 is kind of how I see it going. And I'm sure the architect will build that into it because we're really restricted by the landmass that we have available and where anything can be situated on that piece of property as it exists now. So I understand, and I'm sure that, I guess I feel assured that under the architectural design, these are all going to be built into timelines. What part will be part 1, part 2. It's all one big project, but there'll be a sequence of steps to walk through, very much like the South Pelham Street reconstruction. There's a series of things that have to fall in place, but you can't totally close everything 100% just because of security. And I think that the town fire safety has always been a high point for the town of Pelham. We're very supportive of it. And so I see this, the way it's going forward is useful at this time. The amount of money to be expended on it is going to be well spent.
Councillor Hildebrand, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. To Director of Public Works, I've got comments on four separate topics in this area that you're covering.
Did anyone else have something on the fire department? Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Olson. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I wanted to know what the design concept is, the staff concept for the design as it applies to other offices, especially bylaws. Is there going to be an expansion of their offices in the new fire station or rebuilt fire station?
So through the initial study that we've completed, speaking on behalf of the fire chief, we have discussed what the needs are with respect to space for not only fire but also bylaw to function in that facility and to allow for also future expansion if required. So that will definitely be a part of it. It's not just looking at fire, it's going to be looking at everybody that uses that facility as well as the public.
So any other questions with respect to the fire station? Councillor Eckert.
Just one quick comment. Having lived through the replacement of 3 district headquarters in Welland, there were all these things were gone through as well, renovating, building, and what ended up happening was leveling that building and building on the same process, on the same site, and then we moved to a temporary building while that was being built, and the efficiency was tremendous as opposed to trying to work around a build. So I just believe that that's the way we'll end up going. So,
thank you, Councillor. Any other questions with respect to the fire hall? Okay, sorry. You said that you had three or four things, so I thought you were going in a different direction, so I apologize for that.
Oh, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I was going to start off with a fire hall, but I was going to start off with a comment in general about all the facilities. When we did the Meridian Center, I wasn't really involved, but I knew there was a design charrette, and it was extremely valuable. The unfortunate part about the design charrette is looks dominated the design charrette. And that's my concern on all these things. I think those design charrettes that was sponsored by Enbridge, they did an excellent job. If we would have adopted those comments and considerations, we would have been long further way down the road in terms of energy. So I'm hoping that any time we're talking about a facility, the new library and all those, that we have design charrettes. Getting back to the fire station, one of the things is you said you visited the local fire halls, but one of the key fire halls that always shows up at AMO and all the presentations is the Middlesex Center Cold Water Fire Hall. And the reason why it shows up is it's because of its design efficiency. It is that efficient that it not only supplies all the energy for that building, but the municipal building that's attached to it. So one of the things people forget, I believe, in the local area is the design efficiency of these buildings, and they can be made very efficient and very effective. And I checked with the fire chief, he hasn't been there yet. Have anyone else from the staff been at the Middlesex Fire Hall in Coldwater?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so the people that worked with the consultant to do the initial study, I don't believe we've been there. Barb, I did see Barb's hand up. It sounds like she does have some experience visiting Middlesex.
I've just been there and I've been in the facility, I think, twice.
So one thing I will add is that when we undertake a project such as this, we'll look forward to best practices with respect to these facilities. So far we visited Waynfleet, Thorold, and West Lincoln. And I'm sure that through the next phase of the project, we'll look into some other facilities as well. And it's always going to be a cost-benefit analysis on how far you want to move that building towards a green building. Another thing I'll mention is that we have a utility sustainability working group who, when we meet, we visit different facilities within the town and have a look at those facilities. So we'll be relying on that working group as well to kind of vet that design through and come back with some recommendations as we move forward.
Thank you. I've got one other comment with regards to this area that we're talking about. And it seems like a small budget area, but it has to do with the old town hall building automation system. It's only $5,000. But the key to BAS system is not council approval of $5,000. That's the easy part. We could easily do that with a Nest thermostat in that building. The complicated part of all the BAS systems is the operation of the BAS system. Vicky will tell you the number of hours and almost a year that we spent at the Meridian Center getting the BAS system to work. It involved getting the right people involved and to this day monitoring the progress. Because even with this building addition we put on here, you know, we added 5 different HVAC units in here, and the BAS system is complex when you're trying to attach that to the old building. And I know from what I've seen, we're not there yet. And that part of the work has not been done yet, in my view. So that's always my concern about adding a BAS system without having the back end of it gone through. Yeah, it's better than having a regular thermostat. But a Nest thermostat could do that at the old town hall, unless we're going to delegate a lot of time to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other, Councillor Olson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I've been to that fire station and I've been to the Kamoka Arena, and those are models of what we should be looking at for, I mean, they're both net zero, and we probably should have a policy of net zero certainly for every building that we put up or any addition that we make. So I'm just wondering if that is part of the criteria, the design criteria that we're using on this.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so we can put in anything to the RFP and spec it how we like. It's a matter of per square foot cost when we build those buildings, and I know over time you gain the benefit of having a more energy efficient building, but it's how far you want to take that. We can definitely based on council's wishes, we can write that into the RFP however you like.
Okay, thank you. There's another item on here that I see, and it's key fobs for town hall, and it's said to be a security item, and the CAO assures me that this is necessary. Could I have another explanation of this, just to confirm this, please?
Mr. Cribbs, do you want to make a couple of comments?
Well, I do, but we seem to have moved on. I'd like to help council with this process generally. When you're talking about a $300,000 fire item, we don't need to get into detailed questions on whether bylaw is going to be in it. We don't need to get into detailed questions about energy efficiency. We don't need to get into detailed examples about other communities. To help you with this process, because it's already going to take 3 or 4 hours, is for $300,000, we're going to bring you options on, and fundamentally the question is replace or build new. Lots of things work into that. But those are always part of future reports and have been part of past reports. For today, you really just want to focus on, are you getting value for money? Are you going to support the project or not? Because we are going to be here for a lot of hours. With respect to the key fobs, I think kind of what I was trying to say to that is they're always, virtually everything on the list we ask for, we think there's a business case, you decide, this is the one, from our perspective, this is the hill we want to die on. We really want the key fobs. We've had at least one security incident in the last year. We don't have a way between the new part of the building and the older part of the building. This has been flagged for a number of years, but we've had some serious concerns recently. We view it as a health and safety thing, and I would let any number of other projects fall away prior to the key fobs. That is the thing as the employer, speaking on your behalf as the employer, that is the hill to die on. We absolutely want and need those key fobs. Please consider passing that.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Mr. Krebs. Any, Councillor Kerr?
I guess in response to the CAO's comments, I guess the point that is being encouraged is that the retention of an architect and architectural design, that they be encouraged to look at the net zero. I mean, it's just a generalized comment to pass along to them that be done, and that you're aware of multiple facilities that exist in Ontario, and to give them examples. I guess I'm just looking at it as a way of helping to coach them so that they don't run down a path that turns out not to be in the best interests of us all, looking now and for 25 years into the future. So that's all. That's what I see the comments being made.
Okay, so Councillor Nisney.
Thank you. So just back to, so I'm fine with the fire hall, we'll move on, but you just had questions if you had questions about anything else. So I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the key fobs to help me with deepen my understanding of how that $75,000 for key fobs when I'm assuming, we can't get into the back rooms without someone opening that. So when this was designed for the extension, was security not installed on the doors to separate the two at that point with like a Medco key, or what would Medco keys cost instead of fobs? I just think $75,000 does seem like an awful lot of money and where would the key fobs, would they be used for all access doors, outside access doors? Because already, as I said, I find this place pretty secure in terms of getting into the office areas of the building, but if you could just explain that a little bit further, and then I have a second question about the echo window film, but let's do the key fob first, please.
Okay, so the doors are all on a different locking system. So there are a number of different keys that open different doors. So there wasn't an overall encompassing plan in place when we did the addition with the new building. So what this project will do, we'll switch all the doors over to a fob system. So it'll be one access means for all the doors in the facility. As well, it's going to allow us to put special timers onto certain doors. For instance, right now the universal washroom is locked and opened by key. which is in a lockbox above the door. So that will be eliminated, and we'll be able to put timers on that. So those facilities, that washroom could remain open for certain periods during the day based on a schedule, as well as the access to the public washrooms on the backside of the building as well, because there has to be coordination between the inside of the building and the outside. So this will allow us to be able to move forward and have a system in place where we can electronically lock and unlock certain doors.
Counselor?
And that can't be done just by rekeying the place with a locksmith to have them all rekeyed to one key?
We could. We've also, Mr. Cook may want to comment on that. We did look at options like that. That's also a very expensive option to do that.
Mr. Cribbs, do you want to make comment on that?
Look, I'm going to reiterate until council understands the point I'm making. Our Health and Safety Committee, after we had our incident, the strong recommendation was that we go to one universal system. I have 2 keys. They work in different parts of the building. There are 2 codes for different doors within the system, and then I have yet another for the alarm. So I've got 5.
It's ridiculous.
And I'm sure I'm not setting the record. I'm sure people involved with facility, I'm sure Mr. Cook's number greatly exceeds mine, but I have 5, if that helps. Regardless, we're not asking this for efficiency or for operational convenience, although it'll offer that. We'll be able to do much better access for the public with the bathrooms, although we'll be able to do that. Actually just saying, without wanting to get into all the specifics, that we need this for a health and safety purpose. And the considered opinion of the town solicitor and myself and Human Resources was that we absolutely had to make this thing go through. To reiterate, this is the hill we're prepared to die on. Cut anything else off that list except the key fobs, please.
Counselor Kerr?
Yes, I actually went through with 2 other organizations this long discussion. And fobs were ultimately the way to go because they were programmable. There are also logs attached to them. You know when entry is, when exit is. You know that you're only allowed to go certain places with certain fobs. It's a far simpler mechanism. I grew up, my father was the principal of a high school, and the number of keys that he had for that school at that time, key locks are a pain. And so moving forward to that, I think this is the time to make the decision for safety for everyone, for targeted entry and exit for all of this. And as CAO has identified, health and safety for an individual to know when they entered the system, when they left the system is crucial for their own security. Like I said, I went through this with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food. I went through this with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. I went through this with the Vineland Research Station. Ultimately, every one of those organizations came to the same decision. So I support that it go forward as suggested.
Thank you for those comments, and I will also throw my 2 cents in that the health and safety of our employees of the town, that's the holy grail, and without it, we're putting staff at jeopardy, and I will fully support this also.
Okay, no need to die on the hill. Good.
Any other questions with respect to these capital projects? Yes, Councillor Niznik.
Yes, thank you. So just about the $60,000 for the eco window film, just wondering if the film is installed, would that have potential cost savings with regards to heat and electricity and that sort of thing moving forward? I understand it was a request for the athletes that are in the gyms using that. Not sure why the design was even passed to begin with. Unfortunately, it was, though. But now that we have that to live with, just wondering if that will also be a benefit in terms of some cost savings down the road, if anyone knows that. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Deputy.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. It does have a energy cost savings, but it's very little. That's not the, it's very helpful to have any type of cost savings, but I mean, we've all experienced the complaints with the athletes in the gym, with the glare. Also, the referees cannot see the lines, whether it's, outside or inside. But we also have times of the year, the heat from the sun is so intense. It plays havoc on our HVAC system. And when you think that you are heating a room and then the sun shines onto the thermostat and shuts off the heat and the sun goes away, and it's just a constant battle. So yes, we're making do without it, but it would be a benefit if this would go through, and many, it affects the residents, it affects the operation of the facility, and so forth, and a little bit of energy savings.
Thank you, Director. And can we move on at this point? Thank you, Mr. Meyer.
Okay. Okay, so one of the other departments that Public Works oversees is our roads capital projects. It's probably the largest contributor to the capital budget. So again, here's a list of all the projects that are being proposed for 2024. The ask is $5.42 million. And same as last time, I'll step through a couple of the projects I wanted to highlight. Then I'll return back to this screen and we can go through project by project. So one of the structures that we're looking at replacing, this is a major culvert that's on Church Street, just north of Chandler. It's an old concrete box culvert. It is starting to see the end of its useful life. A few years ago, we, on where the picture is on the bottom side there, we actually, the culvert has started to rotate and it opened up a hole on top of the road. Public Works staff temporarily placed a plate and backfilled over it, but it is starting to fail. It's been identified as part of our bridge condition assessment, and we need to replace this one. So this project, there was a design assignment that was put in place under our culvert program. That design is probably at about 90% complete, so we should be, pending council approval, we should be able to get a tender out on this project in Q1 of next year. And again, the replacement cost for this structure is about $500,000. Is any questions on this particular project?
Councillor Kerr?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, is the anticipation going back to a concrete structure or looking at potentially the structures that were installed, one on Maple Street at 16 Road, and then the region put in the 16 Road cross where they had two large, actually they're plastic culverts with road rehabilitation on top. Is there a preferred design for this, or?
Yeah. So in this case here, the design that's been put forward, and our consultant, when they look at designs, they look at different options and see what the most cost-effective way to do the project would be. It's going to be an open footing concrete box structure similar to this. It won't be the large HDPE type pipes. Obviously, you can see on this section of road as well, there's the amount of cover is a lot less than we have on those other rural type roads like that where we installed the HDP pipe. So to answer your question, yeah, it's going to be more of a concrete cast in place structure.
Thank you. I just, my memory goes back to the infamous debate over Poth Street and what was finally put in versus what we were told was going to have to be put in became two different things.
Okay. So our annual road rehabilitation and road maintenance program, staff came to council with a report earlier this year. We completed a PCI, which is our pavement condition rating for our entire road network. The current condition is about 65 out of 100. The recommendation in that report was to maintain the existing PCI of 65. An investment of $8 million would need to be injected into the road network. So that's based on the life cycle cost of the pavement and the value of replacement. Normally, council has approved a road rehabilitation program in the order of $600,000 and a patching and surface repair program in the order of $200,000. Last year, believe we had $250,000 for the road base and surface repair, and we had $1 million for the road rehab program. So this is a slight increase from last year's commitment, and this is a very important program because the condition of our roads are starting to all reach the end of their useful life at the same time. It puts a large strain on our operations department with respect to keeping those roads passable for the public and safe. So this is these are two projects that I would like to see increase in the future even, but they're very important to our overall transportation system and network. I will say that this program, the road maintenance program, is a combination of urban areas and rural. So to get economies of scale, we usually try to focus on one particular area. Because of the rural road network is all, again, we've got a lot of lane kilometers of road in the rural area. That's all starting to reach the end of its useful life. So most likely that's where this program will concentrate again this year is rehabilitating those rural type roads. So anyway, and then, down the road, we'll change priorities as well and look at doing more resurfacing projects in the urban areas. Any questions?
Councillor Olson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I look at the state of the roads as really improved over the last couple of years. So I'd be in favor of this process as well, because if you go down the roads that we've done out in the rural areas, they're a lot better than they were like last spring. And even to the extent of repairs with the potholes and things, it's much better than it was.
Councillor Kerr?
I was going through all this stuff, and I just don't quite see where it's in the budget. And I guess I'm jumping ahead to the slope stability analysis and geotechnical studies. Is that part of this? It's further down. I can see the Sulphur Springs, but where does that fit into this budget? Under what? I guess I don't see a line item for that.
So the particular project you're speaking of, I believe, is the one at the bottom, 1624.
Oh, the additional geotechnical?
Geotechnical study work, yeah.
Yeah, I guess because remembering we went back through the whole question of do we go through A, B, C, and D, or do we go to design build kind of things? But this is this is prior to getting to that stage. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think it's 2 slides from now.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to double check because I drive both of those roads. If being on the airport commission, I have a tendency to get on River Road at Cream Street and head east, and know that road well. And similarly, I take Church Street going down, so I kind of know that road too. So it's and Center Street. I've been out the north end, and same thing. So thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Meyer?
So Sulphur Springs Road was another project that council directed staff to award to Duffin Contracting. The original budget for this project was $250,000. The tender result for the design build project came in at $387,000. So this is just a quick summary of costs. We do propose to have a project contingency. There are things that will come up with respect to permitting, surveying, that type of stuff that the cost would be borne by the town as well. In a project like this, it's without having the engineering done first, there could be issues that come up when they start to do the work and get more into the design into things, which would increase the cost. So the total ask for 2024 for Sulphur Springs Road, the slope repair, is $250,000. And that'll be in addition to the $200,000 that was previously budgeted, or $250,000. Are there any questions with this particular project? Okay. So this is the project that Councillor Kerr was talking about, so staff came with a report to council when we awarded the Sulphur Springs Slope Stability Project. There are a number of other areas in town where we've identified slope failures. These are two of them. So one is on River Road, just east of Cream Street. The other one is on Center Street, just north of Roland Road. And that's probably when you drive it, you will definitely notice where that road is starting to slip into the river, into the creek. So we feel it's very important to start getting a head start on these projects. The first step is to determine what the cause of failure is. So staff are proposing a $200,000 project to have a consultant go out, do boreholes, and they'll be able, through an engineering analysis, be able to determine what the cause of failure, what the mechanism of failure is at these locations, and that would be the first step in determining how we move forward with eventual rehabilitation at these sites. So this is not construction. This is only engineering work that would determine what the cause of failure is. With that information, then you can move forward as part of future capital budgets to do rehabilitation work. So is there any questions with respect to this project that was proposed?
Yes, Councillor
Through you,
Hildebrand.
Deputy Mayor, to the director. I understand what you're saying, that this is only preliminary work, because I'm a big supporter of design build, because I think the work that we did on Sulphur Springs Road proved that that was an effective way of doing this. So I want to be ensured that we could still go back on these projects for design build of these projects, and that the engineering is not included in that.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so exactly that would be the way we would approach this. We would do the geotechnical work, find out what the mechanism of failure is. Then the next step is to move into a detailed design assignment. So that'll determine how the contract is done, what the works are. And in that case, from once you can give to the contractor, you've done the legwork to say this is what's failing, this is what the issue is, then they can take that information, they can do the design, they can do the construction. There could be a design build at that point, 100%. But this is not the design part. This is only the investigation to find out what the slope of, or what the failure mechanism is.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So the end product of this is going to be a failure mode evaluation and effect, I guess. That's what we're going to have. Don't we have that already? We've done all these projects, and I think the one on the right there, the one Roland Road, like that, how long ago was that done?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'm not sure of a time when that was actually rebuilt or reconstructed.
Yeah.
Normally what happens is because there's such a difference when the road starts settling, you add more asphalt to it, and that just adds more weight, and it adds to the problem. So you continually contribute to the problem by adding asphalt and trying to level out the road surface. Usually it's without getting too technical here, usually it's a deep slip plane, and that's usually caused by erosion at the toe, especially when it's along a water's edge. But the consultant will go and they'll be able to determine through their geotechnical study exactly how deep that is and what methods could be used to rehabilitate. Then you take that information and you move into a design or a design build phase, and you can give that information to the person doing it, and they have all that work done.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, in my estimation, untrained as it is, it looks to me like there's a lot more sites on River Road that are slipping, and that was just one of them. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess to comment to Councillor Olson, the section between the airport and Center Street is actually regional responsibility, that section of the road on River Road as well. So but it's all River Road. It's because that's got that peculiar section, and I know that the Airport Commission has gone after the region to ask, and they've agreed to at least consider it as a complete rebuild of the road from Center Street over.
Okay.
Just a few more under the roads. It's our largest department, so LED street light additional technology. So we brought it was council's direction to staff to come up with innovative ways to use technology to improve the way we do business. We're currently in the process of doing a 2-year LED conversion. That project's still continuing on. We're looking at converting all of our lights over to LED. And one of the neat things that we can do is we can use technology to do different applications for the town. The first case would be putting cameras on top of the lights, which would allow us to do traffic counts. They track speed, they track pedestrian movements. That's the first phase we would look at. The capital ask is $100,000. It'll complete about 10 units. There also is an operating cost to these. They're about $300 per year per unit, which is an operation and maintenance fee. So again, this is just really in response to council's wish to have us look at different ways to use technology, and I'll happy to take any questions on this particular project.
Yes, Councillor Olson.
Deputy Mayor, thank you. This is one thing that I think is a nice to have. It's not a necessity for the town to have more information on these things. $100,000 is pretty hard to justify for this, so I won't be in favor of this one.
Any other comments? Councillor Hildebrand?
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I agree with Councillor Olson. This is nice to have, but it's not something we have to have, so I will not be supporting it either.
Thank you. Councillor Eckert.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with the comments made by my fellow councillors. Nice to have, but there are some other things we're looking at currently that I think come at a zero cost to the town, and I think they're much better options for what we get out of this. So I wouldn't be supporting this.
Councillor Kerr.
Yes, I agree. This is another one of these nice to have, but not absolutely essential to have items, at least at this year. Maybe into the future. The capacity of technology is expanding all the time. So it's something, like I said, it's one of those, would be nice to have, but it's not critical as part of the infrastructure for the town at this state.
I support everything that's been said by our councillors and agree this is a nice to have, not a need. I think you got your marching orders on this one.
Yes.
Thanks.
So this is our largest capital project we have in 2024. The good news is council did approve this project to move forward. It is already tendered. It has been awarded through the region, and the contractor is they're actually having the kickoff meeting as we speak. So I'm not present at that, but I do have representation there. But they are doing the kickoff meeting, and they will be starting over this winter. The anticipation is that they would have this project complete, including our urbanization, by the end of next year. Obviously, they got a late start, and it's quite a bit of work to get done. So we'll keep council abreast of how that's proceeding in that project. But at the end of the day, it's going to include our section of the full urbanization between Pelham Street and Line Avenue will include 2 vehicle lanes, on-road cycling facilities in both the east and west direction. It'll also include pedestrian sidewalks on the north and south side of the road. And it'll tie in with the Steve Bauer Trail, including new underground services, new sanitary, new water, new storm.
So who is the contractor? Who was it awarded to?
The contract has been awarded to Peters Excavating.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions? Not seeing any.
Okay. Design of Station Street reconstruction. This project had some design work in 2013 and then was completed. The design was completed in 2017 under a separate engineering assignment. In 2019, the town installed new water main on Station Street, so the project excludes water main, but will include sanitary as well as urbanizing Station Street from Port Robinson Road to Highway 20. The project overall has been substantially completed, the design portion. But there are some outstanding pieces that need to be looked at. One is specifically looking at the intersections of Port Robinson Road and Station Street and how the development ties into Station Street and the extension that will happen on Station Street to the south of Port Robinson Road. And then also finalization of the intersection at Station Street and Pelham Town Square, Summersides. So little history on that is that it was designed as a roundabout and then it got changed to more of a traditional type intersection. So the design consultant will look at options. Those options will be presented back to council as part of that design assignment. And the other thing that this project will encompass is the additional geotech work that's required to satisfy excess soil regulations. So when we did the design, that legislation wasn't in place. So we will have to go do additional geotechnical work for the disposal of those soils. I believe this project is in the forecast to be completed in 2027. So again, looking to, but the thing is that the development, the Station Street extension south of Port Robinson could happen before this project goes. So that's kind of where we are with timeline. I said this before, I usually like to do the design work 2 or 3 years out so that we're able to satisfy any utility issues or property issues that may come up as part of that design. We have a year or so to get that completed before you go to construction. So that's why we're looking to proceed with the Station Street, finalizing that design now, working with the developers, and then looking at options for intersection improvements. So any questions on this project?
Councillor Hildebrand.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to the Director. I thought council at the beginning of their term in 2018 was very clear because of the cost of those roundabouts, the 600 to 800,000 to the roundabouts. So we made it very clear to staff that we weren't proceeding with roundabouts, period. And I made sure that on several meetings we had with consultants, because they continue to have those roundabouts in that drawing, that those roundabouts were eliminated from the drawings. So I'm surprised to hear you're talking about roundabouts again. That's my general comment.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So yes, I was part of those discussions. Roundabouts may not be the answer, but something has to be. And the intersection is not functioning. It is functioning right now. When we reconstruct the road, we want to make sure it's done properly. That design for that intersection, has not been completed. So that will need to be done prior to us moving ahead with this project and the reconstruction of it.
Any other questions? Councillor Eckert.
I think you mentioned it, but this project and the sewers, et cetera, has no connection, no ability to improve, the water issues that we get on Emmett and College. But at some point in the future, does this assist that area too?
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor. So this project has to happen before that can happen, right? So you build the outlet downstream, and then if you look in the future forecast at 27, 28, it shows the design reconstruction of College and Emmett, which will then tie into the work we do on Station Street.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Mr. Marr.
Couple more for the roads. Again, I apologize, it is the largest department. There is a report coming to council on December 6th. We just completed the stormwater management facility needs assessment. They went through all of our stormwater management ponds, oil grit separators, and lay-by ditches, and came up with a condition of each of those. They looked at sediment volumes. They determined a 10-year forecast for us on what needs to be rehabilitated and looked at. A lot of it is dredging and excavating of ponds that have silted in. There are some outlets that need to be reconstructed based on erosion issues, and there are a couple ponds that, I don't want to jump ahead and spoil all the fun on the 6th, but there's a couple ponds that are going to have a new clay liner put in. So overall, the report came back with about $2.5 million of capital works to be done on our stormwater management ponds. We had put in a placeholder in the capital budget of $300,000. If you do the math, it kind of works out to about $300,000 over the next 10 years that we want to invest. So this project will be to look at probably one stormwater management pond. It'll include probably some sediment removal and rehabilitation works to those ponds. And then as we move forward with the capital forecast, and we'll do this in Q1 of next year, but we'll now include those stormwater management ponds and storm facilities as part of our 10-year capital program. So now we've got a good handle on what it costs and what needs to get done. So you can see that Timber Creek has been identified here. It's probably the one that's in the worst condition. So not saying that that's the one we're going to move forward, but it's probably the best candidate for 2024, and we'll move forward with a design and a project in 2024 to remedy that pond.
So Councillor Hildebrand, I see you have an itchy finger, so go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Wink and Deputy Mayor. One of the unique solutions, I'm on the Regional Waste Committee for CLC 12, which is Road 12 site. One of the unique solutions we found is because when we have a cell, we got a lot of dirt and a lot of excavation, a lot of movement of material required. We found a local developer and Rankin Construction who worked with us. It saved us $300,000 worth of work because they were able to use the so-called dirt and transport it and use it in one of their projects. So that's one of those things. I think the excavation of the material, dirt these days, has got value to different people. Now, I'm not sure what's in this sediment, but possibly that's a solution that the town could adopt or investigate for these stormwater ponds as well. Thanks.
So it's cheaper than dirt? Councillor Kerr.
I guess speaking as a person who lives beside a stormwater pond and watching the Cherry Ridge soil removal, to follow Councillor Hildebrand's comment about what's in the sediment, well, that's always a question because these are coming from the stormwater drains, are going in. People are notorious for using stormwater drains to get rid of, let's say, less than desirable stuff that they don't want to take for normal recycling and reuse. So there's a challenge there. My question comes back in understanding and going through my understanding, the bulk of the sediment entry into these often comes from new development. There's notorious amounts of soil that wash in as they're building, the trucks moving stuff, the inadequate installation of breaks around it to maintain the soil on their property. Big rainstorms come and you watch the color change as it comes flying down the stormwater pipes. I guess the encouragement I would have for these is on the ones we've got and any future development that we may want to take a stronger look at point source of the sediment, which may reduce rehabilitation costs in the future. It's one of those things when they took, I think, beside me, about almost 600 or 700 dump truck loads of dirt out to try and get Cherry Ridge back into a functional. They had to excavate the bank to allow the trucks to come in. They did cross pumping to get the water to bypass. The dilemma on it is that I live beside there, and that's groundwater fed. It's actually a flowing pond. It's not a true stormwater pond. It's fed by groundwater. So the chance of ever seeing that thing dry up is going to be zero, and we may have that similar situation. I recognize we've got a number of others in the outflows, and I give you, I understand where we are and where we have to go, and yes, maintenance of these is going to be critical, but I encourage that as we go forward with future development that we consider these are open water, stormwater management ponds. When we have new development and we may be going with these below ground units, we may have to, in the future, if the sediment levels were just as high, we may be into a similar situation of something suddenly filling up and having to pump like your septic tank might result. So I understand it, it's good. I give you credit for putting it in and going forward with it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Meyer.
Yeah, so just to comment on that, so the purpose of this discussion is to look at capital dollars. That report also addresses ongoing maintenance requirements and best practices. So we are going to be revising engineering standards and working with development to have checks done prior to assumption and making sure that we're taking on facilities and assets that are in good working order, so. Okay, so I'll slip back up. Those were our major projects. I'll slip back to the main spreadsheet here. And if there's any other questions anybody has with respect to any of these capital projects, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Seeing none, thank you.
Okay, so our fleet. We have roughly 80 pieces of equipment, snow plows, backhoes, work trucks, and those are support most of the departments in the corporation. The fire fleet capital works are completed by the fire department, with the maintenance end of things completed by Public Works. So here is the list of projects for the fleet for 2024, $767,290 ask. I don't have any special spreadsheets on pieces of equipment, but here's the spreadsheet. If anybody has any questions with respect to any of these projects, Ryan and I would be happy to answer those at this time.
So just being a little picky, and we've got two 1-ton dump boxes. Looks like identical vehicles. One's for $111,000 and one's for $115,000. So why the discrepancy of the two?
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, so I did ask the question as well, but we have the expert here, so I'm going to turn it over to Ryan for comment.
Well, so you should know the answer then.
Through the Deputy Mayor, the two units are used by two different functional groups. The first one would be, or the cheaper version is for the road department, and the one that's a little bit more money is used by forestry. So it does require a little bit more upfitting than the roads department truck does. We do put a chipper box on the back of it, plus some interior shelving and storage for our forestry crew.
So thank you for that explanation. At least it's not one gets air conditioning and the other one doesn't, so. Councilor Hildebrand.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Question with regards to vehicle pricing. In 2023, the news we got was new vehicle prices will remain high due to inflationary pressures, input costs, and supply chain. Obviously, inflationary pressures seem to be going down. I think the supply chain issues are going down. Is delaying purchasing an option, as the pricing seems to be coming down on things in general?
Through the Deputy Mayor, no. These vehicles are all at the end of their lifetime now. The delay in receiving a vehicle that we order is still well out, especially for some of the ones that do require upfitting. We have not yet been able to procure the 1-ton that we ordered in 2021. That ended up being canceled due to some issues with the vendor. Now we're going out with the Niagara region, who is also having similar problems in procuring vehicles due to supply chain problems. The longer that we delay the tendering and purchases of a vehicle, the longer that the existing that are, again, beyond their lifespan and are no longer reliable in any way, it just takes us longer to get those new vehicles.
Yes, go ahead.
In addition, the thing is, you're calling for Power Stroke diesels. Is that one of the reasons why you're getting this long delay in the supply chain?
Through the Deputy Mayor, their replacement they're replacing a Power Stroke diesel. And due to the replacement or the repair costs and maintenance of the Power Strokes, we will not be buying or tendering out for a Power Stroke diesel.
Does that mean you're not buying diesels any longer?
No. We look at the vehicle that we're in the use that is going to be performing. We're finding, as long with a number of other fleet managers, for a smaller, like a 1-ton truck in a municipal application, they idle more often than they do on a more commercial level. And we're all having issues with diesel trucks due to the environmental controls that are put on them, and they're not getting warm enough to keep the environmental control systems clean. So all diesels for our application of that size, we're switching over to just regular fuel at this point. Larger dump trucks are all still diesel, but for the application, it just doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. That's a good selection, because not only is the price of diesel higher, you have to add that extra fuel component, and the truck can only run so long before you have to add that chemical to it. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Olson?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I was looking at vehicle 0324 again, 2011. I've got socks older than this vehicle, so I was wondering if there wasn't some kind of a way we can extend the life of these vehicles, and probably I'm looking at some kind of a midlife recovery, and it's not, and the time to do that is not at the end of the life of the thing. So is the maintenance process to keep the vehicles going on a predictive maintenance program, or is it just a preventative, or what is it?
Through the Deputy Mayor. So we maintain our vehicles based on the manufacturer's recommendation. They are we do preventative maintenance and we do reactive maintenance, but we don't have staff or the facility to provide like a complete rebuild, especially on just a regular F-150 type vehicle. That rebuild would cost more, most likely more than the residual value of the vehicle in the first place.
Yes, Deputy Mayor, the information I got was the engine's knocking, transmission's bad, U-joints, steering components, electrical malfunction. That looks like my car sometimes, you know, so, and I managed to get another 2 years out of it, so, but I'll be in favor of this.
Thank you for that long explanation. So. Okay, go ahead.
So if there's no further questions on fleet, we'll move on to wastewater. So again, one of our largest budgets. These are the capital projects that are proposed for 2024. The main one being the Quaker Road sanitary sewer replacement project. So just I'll go back up to that screen again, but our wastewater, this is kind of a picture. It's a little bit older picture. This study was completed in 2017. And I like to show it because it identifies areas where we have capacity issues, where they identified this back in 2017. If you look down on your bottom left corner, you see Foss Road pumping station there. Council did approve replacing the sanitary sewer on Church between Canberra Road and Foss. That project was completed successfully over this past summer. Originally, it was planned to bring Foss Road forward because it is the downstream end, which has more of the capacity issue. So the idea was to bring that forward as a capital project in 2024. We deferred that one to 2025. There's still some engineering issues that need to get worked out on that project. We are moving forward as a previous capital project to complete those during 2024.
and that project would most likely be coming forward for council's consideration in '25. This is done during that same study. Again, it identifies a number of different areas that are in need of repair. This is old. It's almost time, I think, we redo another study like this, but I like to show it because a lot of the programs that we are proposing as part of the 2024 project address these deficiencies still. And I like to show these pictures because it's kind of neat. You see the camera going down the pipe. So every year we do annual inspections of our sanitary sewer system. It's called CCTV inspections, and they basically camera the whole. We look at doing a third of the network every year, and that gives us a good idea on where our issues are and what capital improvements we need to do. And we also have an annual program directed to, once we complete these investigations throughout the summertime, it'll identify areas that need to be addressed, and then we use that capital project to do the actual repairs. And didn't have a slide for it, but our major capital replacement for sanitary is part of the Quaker Road project. So that's the component that's associated with sanitary sewers, about $525,000. And again, that project has been awarded to Peters Excavating through the region, and we'll be completing that this year. The other project that I didn't do a separate slide on is WST 0424, the Consolidated Lineal Infrastructure Operations Manual for Sanitary Sewers. So this is a placeholder right now. This is new legislation. We're working on this. We're still trying to figure out timelines and what is going to be needed, but in essence, we're going to have to develop operational plans, very similar to our drinking water quality management system, which will address our sanitary sewer operations, as well as our stormwater operations. So those will be manuals that are going to have to be developed for the town, and those will guide our maintenance and operation of those facilities.
So I'll just ask the question on the operations manual. I would assume all 12 municipalities will be undergoing the same thing and probably coming up with very similar manuals. I would hope that we could collaborate with the other municipalities to drive these costs down.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, most of the municipalities in the region are on the same timeline right now. We're at the same point. There are a few that are more advanced, but there is a working group that's meeting monthly to review what the requirements are and what's coming down from the ministry and how we can work together to develop these plans. So that will be taking place.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Councillor Olson.
Yes, through you, Deputy Mayor. Are we wrapping up this part of the session now? The road part? Could I ask a question on roads?
Sure, we can go back to roads.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question about Balfour Street.
Okay.
In particular, because, and I'm going to just mention the whole street. I know we're going to probably have a redevelopment of the Highway 20 Balfour corner there, that intersection. Will that have any effect on it? Because Balfour is getting into what I consider really rough shape there in a couple of places.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, or Deputy Mayor, Balfour Street is not being considered as part of the 2024 capital budget. It will be, the eventual urbanization of that section of road from Highway 20 to Cambro, I think that's kind of where you're talking, will be completed as part of the East Fenwick plans. And as the treasurer stated earlier, a lot of those projects in East Fenwick have been pushed out past the 10-year horizon. There are major capital investments that are going to need to take place in East Fenwick to support the developments. And that's part, I think that number was about $59 million that was pushed out past that 10-year program. So eventually you'll see more substantial work. In the meantime, sections of road like Balfour, if the road becomes in poor condition, that'll become a candidate under our road rehabilitation program. And whether that's most likely through that section would be hot mix paving asphalt instead of the tar and chip. So we can look at those sections of road through those other annual programs that we have with the town.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. That appears to be the way to approach that, but I'll also tell you that 10 years is probably going to be too long. That'll be looked upon as an extended period of time, given the state of the road and the amount of traffic that goes down there.
Yes, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So we will endeavor to do our pavement condition index and study at least every 3 years. And that constantly prioritizes where we invest our money into our roads.
Okay. Councillor Kerr.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions through you, Deputy Mayor. One was, and I guess I look at the sewer, and if I remember last year, there was an allocation of resources relative to a pumping station for sewers for Oak Haven. Is that been kind of taken out of the system for 2024? That's my part one.
So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you're right. That's a pumping station that's going to service some of the developments, such as Oak Haven, up at the end of Maple Street. So that is a capital project that's in our forecast. Again, it's not being presented in 2024. Developers still working with the region and the town to develop plans for that pumping station. And as that development moves forward and we have a better timeline on it, then that project will come forward as part of the capital ask.
Thank you. I just remember seeing it in the line last year, and I just wanted to make sure that was understood. I guess the other part was when I looked at your map for the sewer dilemmas and the mapping from 2017, what I found most interesting is that if you look at the diagram, the biggest issue in the town of Pelham is grease. If you follow the legend on the side of what are the issues relative to the sanitary sewers, where they outline whether it's obstructions or roots or breakdown, the largest number of squares identified is basically a grease blockage, which is something very interesting to see. And it sort of follows along the line of what happens even with our storm sewers with what can occur in those. But I don't mean to make a small light of it, but that I can see as I'm not sure whether it's an educational thing we've got to get going or something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Mr. Meyer.
Okay, water projects. Again, everybody in the Horseshoe has been briefed about our water distribution system and the importance of that. So we've got a couple capital asks that we're moving forward with. One, again, Quaker Road. Because of the different reserves, that's why you get Quaker Road broken up into roads, wastewater, and water. So the water component of Quaker Road, which again has been approved to move forward with the region, is $560,000, and that'll be completed in 2024 as part of the works there. The other project is a project that was identified as part of our drinking water quality management system capital review. We do that annually and with our auditors. And this is just an old section of cast iron pipe. It services a number of different streets in I call it northwest Fawn Hill, so I guess west of the cemetery operations and south of Highway 20, east of Haste. So it's gonna include the replacement of a water main on Strathcona, Moot, Daleview Crescent, Daleview Drive, and this pipe has seen the end of its life. We've experienced a number of repairs, water main breaks in that area. It's identified as part of our DWQMS audit, and in this case, we were fortunate enough to be the beneficiary of a grant worth $1.98 million through the ICIP Green Fund, and that'll fund the majority of this project. The design has been undertaken under a separate project which was prior approved through council. We're being close to finishing the design on this piece of work, and hopefully pending council's approval of the budget, we'll be putting that out in Q1 of next year to be constructed next year. Okay. And if there's no further questions on that, we'll move on to cemeteries. So we have 2 active cemeteries, Fawn Hill and Hillside. We also do the ground maintenance on another cemetery, Metler Road. But Fawn Hill and Hillside are our 2 main cemeteries. And usually there's not a big capital ask for these cemeteries. But we do have 2 this year. One is CEM 0124, Hillside Cemetery Path. So we've opened up new areas within the cemetery. And this is really just to excavate and put in roads through those new sections. This project will most likely be very similar to the way the parking in Ridgeville was handled. We'll probably add that to our patching program and tender it to get better economies of scale. But this would be work to just put in the roadways in those areas. The second project, CEM 0224, is a cemetery data management plan. So staff are bringing a report forward on December 6th as well, which will kind of outline some of our issues we're having in the cemeteries with respect to the administrative side of things. It'll give council kind of the vision on where we want to go. And this project will help us get there. We have a software program that we do use, but we don't use to its full capacity or extent. And a lot of the issues surrounding old documents from the 1800s we have in books that are sitting up in the vault. And so the administrative side of it is we have 3 different sources to draw information from. And sometimes those 3 different pieces of information don't say the same thing. And it becomes very time consuming for our staff to be able to manage administratively the cemetery operations. So the vision here is that we eventually move into fully operational into our Stone Orchard software that we have. We're just not using to its full capacity. And to do that, we need to get all the data uploaded into that system. And the way to do that is to manually enter that information. We did do a small pilot project with a consultant. They took one section of our cemetery in Fawn Hill, and we're able to enter all the information into Stone Orchards, use the AutoCAD drawings, and create a GIS layer to basically convert everything over into Stone Orchards so that we have everything in one place, so we know it works. But this is a project that we would go to RFP on, retain a consultant to do that mass data transfer into that program for us. And I think it's very important for us to move forward with that project. It would just save so much administration time in this area of the business. So that's what that is. Any questions?
So seeing none, thank you. And I think now's probably a perfect time to have a 5-minute comfort break.
Thanks.
This one and